everyone. My name is Patrick. You're watching the Oilers Rundown, broadcast on the Oilers Fanatic and the Heavy Hockey Network. Well, the John Gibson to the Edmonton Oilers saga continues with some more reports coming out today from Daniel Nugent-Bowman with The Athletic and Elliot Friedman on the 32 Thoughts podcast. But just before I get to those reports, thought I'd give everybody an update on Connor McDavid and Team Canada going into the Four Nations tournament. On the ice today at practice, Connor McDavid was centering the number one line in between Sam Reinhart and Mitch Marner. Sidney Crosby is good to go for the Four Nations and will be on the second line with Stone and McKinnon. So great to hear that Sidney Crosby is good to go. I know Connor McDavid will be extremely happy with that news, and looking forward to seeing how Connor and Team Canada does. Team USA is clearly the favorite going into this tournament, but hopefully Canada can at least be competitive and give Team USA all they can handle in search of, I don't even know what they call it, the Four Nations Cup, but we'll see what happens there, guys. So let's start with the 32 Thoughts podcast report. Elliot Friedman had this to say: "One of the things I heard during the season was that John Gibson's preferences were the Edmonton Oilers and Carolina Hurricanes. Gibson wants a situation where he's going to be the number one. He wants to be the guy. So I don't know if a John Gibson-Stuart Skinner duo is going to work for him." Elliot Friedman goes on to mention that he's heard talk about John Gibson to the Edmonton Oilers throughout the year. He thought it was a strong possibility at one point. Obviously not feeling as strong of a possibility right now. And with John Gibson not wanting to be a part of a tandem, you could see John Gibson stuck behind Dostal in Anaheim, so he probably, does want to be the number one guy here. But I would personally be more comfortable if the Oilers could find a way to keep Stuart Skinner, and if John Gibson did come in, it was a Skinner-Gibson duo. Elliot Friedman also mentions there that if he was John Gibson, he would just suck it up, go to Edmonton, try to win the cup, and go from there. So Daniel Nugent-Bowman was interviewing Oilers GM Stan Bowman, and Stan had this to say on the Oilers goaltending. "Well, we're going to look at every option for improving, but I would say no. That's not a big issue with our team. I've got to do my job and run out every potential opportunity, but that's not the front burner issue for us." So that sure doesn't sound like GM Stan Bowman is about to make a John Gibson trade. We heard the reports on the weekend from David Pagnotta on Hello Hockey that the Oilers had made an exploratory phone call about John Gibson, but I don't know, guys. If you're really hoping for John Gibson to come in here to replace Stuart Skinner or be in a tandem with Stuart Skinner after the trade deadline, I don't know, guys. It's just looking like it's not going to happen. This is what Stan Bowman had to say on potentially adding up front. "I'm not ruling out higher up the lineup type players, but there's more complications with those, whether it's their contractual status or their cap situation. There are more moving parts, but I wouldn't rule it out." Stan would go on to mention that he says a depth piece is the more likely scenario since the Oilers already have players that are pushing for more ice time. And Stan Bowman also mentioning that he doesn't envision asking Jeff Skinner to waive his no-move clause before the trade deadline. A special thanks to Audie, who runs the @OilerAlert account on Twitter, for providing all these great breakdowns. He does an amazing job. If you're on Twitter, X, make sure you follow him, @OilerAlert. Once again, GM Stan Bowman emphasizing that goaltending is not a big issue for him going into the trade deadline, so there's going to be a lot of talk here about John Gibson, but whether anything actually happens, I have huge doubts there. So I think at the end of the day, we're going to be having Stuart Skinner and Calvin Pickard representing the Edmonton Oilers in the Stanley Cup playoffs, but I know a lot of people want to see the Oilers bring in another goaltender. Maybe someone other than John Gibson becomes a possibility as like a number 2, number 3 type guy. We'll see who ends up being available come the trade deadline. There might be some surprise goaltenders out there that are available. So we'll see what happens here, guys, but it's looking less and less likely, I think, that John Gibson becomes an Edmonton Oiler. And as far as what the Oilers actually do, I think they end up going for a number 4, number 5 defenseman and a depth player for their top 9. Ryan Donato was a name that we did hear on the weekend. So that's all the latest for now, guys. Let me know your thoughts on everything in the comments section below. If this is your first visit to the channel and you like what you see, please consider liking and subscribing for all the latest Oilers content. You've been watching the Oilers Fanatic. Thanks for being a fan.